Docker is more than virtualization. In the early days, when we first started playing with Docker, it really was just a very lightweight way to contain an application. So since then, they've added Swarm, and Swarm also virtualizes the network, which is very interesting. And in this demo here today, I'm going to focus just on that, having a swarm with one machine, but a whole bunch of containers within a machine. So it's going to look like this. So I'm going to have a submitting workspace, an FME workspace, that's going to submit 27 jobs. I think it might be 28, but anyway. And it's going to connect to port 7777, all the jobs. And what I'm also, within this swarm, I'm also going to launch 10 FME engines. Each engine's inside a Docker container inside a swarm of one machine. The key thing is that all these engines themselves are connected on port 7777. The driver thinks there's only one engine on port 7777. When this is run, all the engines get busy, all the engines are doing work, and everybody is happy, and the magic of Docker is what it's doing with the networking here. So pretty amazing, pretty exciting. Basically what's going on is Docker Swarm's providing this network abstraction. Many engines look like one to the client. There's some sort of load balancer. I don't know if it's round robin. I don't know what it is. Doesn't really matter. So this is really all about just helping us wrap our mind around some of the capabilities of Docker and Docker Swarm. Okay, so here what I'm going to do is I have two workspaces. I have a worker, which is right here. This workspace simply takes in a city name and builds a nice HTML report, which I'll show at the end, of air quality for the particular city that was entered. So that's the first one. The second one is the driver workspace, and this one simply reads a table of cities, and for each city it passes it off to a running FME engine. Now the secret here is what we're going to do is, rather than it talking directly to an engine, we're going to have the engine running within a Docker swarm, within a container. So the engine's going to run in a container inside a Docker Swarm. Now the beauty of Docker is that this command line, when I'm invoking this FME process here, it does not know that it's talking to through Docker Swarm. It just thinks it's talking to a particular FME that is listening on this machine on port 7777, when in fact that port is going to be shared amongst 10 different engines. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to launch the Docker Swarm. So here we go. Docker PS, I have nothing running, so I'm going to simply start the containers. I'm not going to use a web. I have another one that has a web browser, but I want to keep this one really simple so that people don't get confused and think that the web browser, the web server that I was running had any to do with the magic. So there's nothing here, only containers. Okay, so I run this, and basically it started one engine, and it also starts everybody's favorite tool, which is, if I refresh this, which is Manomark's nice little visualization tool. I'm going to like that so we can see I have one engine running. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to spin up 10 engines. Okay, Docker service scale, FME engine equals 10. And so now the number of engines is scaled up to 10. So if I do Docker PS, you're going to see that now I have a whole bunch of these engines running. And when I look in the Moby Manager here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if I refresh it, you're going to see there's a lot of them there. So there's 10 engines there, so that's running. And so that each one of those engines is just sitting there waiting for a command. And the command I'm going to pass in is essentially this command. I'm going to tell it to run this workspace, and this Workspace takes one published parameter, which is the name of the city, and that's what I'm going to do. So very simple. Okay, so I don't need this anymore because this is the I don't need this one over here anymore because this is the one that's going to be run on the engine. So the engines are just sitting there listening on port 7777 for somebody to connect and tell them what to do. Okay, so we're going to get our finder here so we can see what's going on. So I have a logs directory here. Okay, and I have that directory, and I'll close that one, and I have a results directory here, which right now is empty. So I'm going to run this, and I'm going to submit all the city names, and all 10 engines are going to get some work. And here we go. So I say that's what I'm going to do, and it's going to submit those 28 jobs, and then I go over here, and you'll start to see results form, and we're also going to see the job logs going here. So here we go. So now you can start to see all the ones that the reports that are being done. And if I open these logs, you're going to see that each of these logs is from a different engine. You can see the host name here is 40D, and if I open another one, you'll see the host name here is 1D, 9D. Okay, so let's take a look at the output of this. So let's open one of the files, for example, and here we go. You can see it's exactly, this is Vancouver area with the number of points, and you can see as I zoom in the air quality. So that's, and we did this in that short time for 28 different cities. This little example, you can download it, try it, and it's quite amazing what is actually going on here. Have fun, and then stay tuned.